Welcome to our video, Tips and Advice for New EFL Teachers. In this video, we aim to provide you, a new English as a foreign language teacher, with some tips and strategies regarding cultural issues, classroom procedures, and resources to help you as you begin to teach EFL. The advice and tips provided in this video are based on personal experiences teaching English abroad. In this first section, we will discuss some possible cultural issues you may encounter in the host country. This list is by no means complete, as the context varies from situation to situation, even within the same country.
Ideas regarding male and female interactions vary from culture to culture. If possible, find out in advance what the cultural norms are in this area for the culture you will be teaching in. Some things to consider are professional context for male and female interactions, social interactions, and differences for single or married individuals. You can discuss these topics to some extent with your adult students. This can help students to realize that you respect their culture and encourage them to respect you. Finally, if you are in doubt about what is considered acceptable for male and female interactions, be conservative. It is crucial for you as a teacher to be aware of the host culture's norms for clothing and present an appropriate and professional image. Try to find someone who has taught English in the country you are traveling to, or someone who is from that culture that can tell you what to expect. You may also be able to contact someone at the school where you will be teaching, ask if there are dress codes for teachers. Some things to consider are the levels of modesty and the variety of clothing. For example, is it appropriate for women to wear pants or to show their upper arms? If you do find yourself in your host country and still unsure of what is considered appropriate, try to observe what other teachers at your school are wearing, and if possible, do the same. If you are in doubt, it is best to start off with most conservative clothing.
I'll choose the University of Kuwait as the place to talk about. I was very conscious of dressing appropriately. In shopping for Kuwait, I was very careful to buy long skirts and dresses, not all the way to the floor, but just kind of to the top of my ankle. I wasn't aware at that time, there wasn't much intercultural literature out about covering the tops of my shoulders, and so I did wear a dress that was sleeveless. It had a little shoulder cap, but basically it was sleeveless. And my supervisor said that I needed to go home, and so I did, and of course I was very embarrassed. And that's when I found out that really you need to always have the top of your arm. You can wear a sleeve to here, but not your shoulder shouldn't show. And so there aren't a lot of rules that one has to learn, but there are a few, and if you break them, it's pretty much of a big faux pas.
Perceptions of authority may be different in your host culture and could be based on age or experience levels. If you are a young teacher in a culture where older teachers have more authority, be prepared to have your teaching abilities questioned. If this is the case, be respectful to older teachers and earn the respect by being professional and confident in the classroom. If you are an older teacher in a culture that values experience more than age, don't be offended if your younger teachers have more authority. You may be able to learn something new from teachers with varied experience. Cultures also vary in regards to the way students view teachers and the amount of authority teachers command in the classroom. Another area of possible cultural differences is the conception of time. The institution where you are teaching may have a very different perception of what being on time means than you do. If this is the case, it is important for you to be aware of this difference and be willing to change your usual pattern to fit more closely with your school's standards.
I was teaching English as a foreign language in Indonesia. It was my first time teaching on my own. The first day I get to school, we go back to the teacher's room and we're sitting, all the teachers are in there and we're eating tea, and I think, okay, well, I'm sure class will start soon. And then one of the teachers says, oh, you look tired, you should probably go home. And so I go home. The second day I go into school again, and basically the same thing happens. I'm just like, I should be observing classes, I don't know what's going on. Finally, someone told me that, oh, because Ramadan had just happened, they really ease back into school. I expected ideas about time to be different, but for some reason I didn't expect that in the school setting. I think being adaptable and flexible is by far the most important thing you can do when you're going into such new settings.
An important resource for any teacher going into an EFL setting is a cultural informant. This is a person who can answer questions and provide information about cultural norms and how to handle various intercultural situations. Some possible informants are your homestay family, other teachers, or other individuals who have lived in your host culture. Other possible sources for cultural information are TEFL forms and other online resources. This information can be crucial in helping you to adapt to your host culture and avoid miscommunications. If any intercultural miscommunications occur between you and someone in your host culture, be sensitive and realize that although you each have different perceptions, both perceptions are equally valid. Get advice from your cultural informant about the situation.
I think it's really important to at least have a basic understanding of the culture that you're going into. When I first went to Japan, the first day that I met one of my managers, she commented on how fat I was. To me, it was extremely insulting. I was very offended, and it wasn't until later on that I discovered that she was trying to compliment me, and she didn't know that using the word fat to describe someone was rude. It was an awkward situation. So I think it's really important not to jump to conclusions and to really try to figure out what they mean. Terms in different cultures can be taken different ways.
This next section focuses on procedural information that will help you during your first days as an EFL teacher. These procedures will provide you with a starting point, both for preparation for the first day, as well as for ideas on how to proceed over the first few days of the new school year.
We're all very familiar with the idea of icebreakers on the first day of class. Keep in mind, however, that it's possible that your students may not be familiar with these activities. Instead of breaking the ice, these activities can make students nervous or spend too much time thinking about their own answer instead of listening to others. The purpose of icebreakers should be to make students feel more comfortable and part of a new classroom community. You should join in on the activities so they get to know you as well. Search for icebreakers with these characteristics: involve physical movement, are enjoyable, are collaborative, and are not personal. A needs analysis is a description of your students' individual needs. You can give your students a pretest to see exactly what their skills are. The pretest should match the skill area of the course. For example, if the class focuses on reading, you can give the students a reading comprehension test. Make sure they understand that this test will not be graded. Additionally, you should get to know what their specific purposes, goals, and needs are for learning English and their educational background. Are they learning English to be able to do a specific job, or do they have to pass a standardized test? These factors will affect what and how you will teach. We also advise you to get to know your students as people outside of the classroom.
When I was teaching abroad in Argentina, I was hired by an institution and they would send me out to different jobs around the city. The institution itself gave me very little information about the student. I only knew their name, their address or the business address, and maybe a rough estimate of their proficiency. So we started the first meeting just talking, getting to know each other. And from that, I got a sense of what their interests were, why they were learning English, what kind of things they wanted to do in class. If I knew then what I know now, I would have gone with a clear set of questions to ask the students. I think if I had had that, our lessons and our objectives would have been a lot clearer from the beginning.